Hi, this is Catherine, and welcome back to Taking Tea with Catherine. I am drinking some lemon lavender lane from Celestial Seasonings, a nice herbal evening refreshing tea. I say refreshing a lot. If you hear a little funny noise in the background, that's my cat, by the way. I gave him a new toy, and he's going to town with it. So, I'm using this mug, which I've had for some time now. I've shown you guys my other TARDIS mug. This one, though, is hand-painted, and it's got writing in the back, but it got slightly smudged. But it's still good. A friend of mine had given this to me, and I don't know how they do these things, because I'm so not good at any of these kind of things, but she basically made this TARDIS and then the writing in the back and baked it in or whatever. So it says in the back, tea. That's all I needed. Good cup of tea, superheated infusion of free radicals and tanning? I think it's tannins. Just the thing for healing the synapses. So that's the 10th Doctor. He had said that in his first regeneration episode. And so yeah, tannins. Anyway, yeah, that one bit got a little smudged. Because he didn't tan. Oh, look, Freddy's here. And okay, so we're getting off topic. This is I'm using this today because I'm doing one of my time travel episodes, which anything that whenever I talk about the past or the future, I try to use my TARDIS mugs if possible. Because I'm talking about 2020, which is actually not that far into the future anymore. So, it's much easier to have 2020 vision. You don't even need glasses. Ha ha ha. Okay, done with the dad jokes. So, I wrote down in my little, book, so I wouldn't forget, because I will forget otherwise, my, goals, my plans, etc. for reading and writing and booktubing for 2020. And obviously I'll probably think of other ones as time goes on, but I think these are enough to talk about right now. So, and Freddie apparently is interested, so he's left. He probably did. It was a little toy mouse, and it was full of catnip. He probably took it, threw it around, and probably hid it under something, and I'll never see it again, because that's what happens when you get them gifts. Anyway, so let's get started. And the first one I'm going to talk about is something I've heard myself say, but I also hear other people say this on Booktube and in real life. And okay, Freddie. Freddie's being very distracting today. So, Freddie, you're causing an earthquake. We're not in San Francisco. Sorry, San Franciscans. So, okay, going back to what I was saying. If someone's talking about a book they're reading, and they talk about it, and they're showing a book, I'm just going to use a random book that I have in front of me, and they're like, okay, this is a book I'm reading, and I need to get through this before I blah, blah, blah. Now, if you're saying that maybe about a chapter that's kind of dull, that you just have to get through, like Dickens, for instance. I like Charles Dickens a lot, but every once in a while he'll go off on a tangent in a chapter. Or Victor Hugo. Yes, a lot of tangents. That time period, I think people used to just get paid by the word, so they just wrote a lot of words. So if you're talking about a chapter, I get it. But if you're talking about a book, and you're not being paid to read this book, you're not a reviewer, professional reviewer, you're just reading it maybe for a challenge, that's not the end of the world if you don't read this particular book, that sort of thing, or just a book that you had in your TBR, and you're like, I need to get through this book. You're not in college, or school, or whatever. Why are you doing that to yourself? Why are you saying, I need to get through it? If that's what it sounds like, it's an ordeal. So if this is what you're saying, then maybe you don't like this book. And I'm saying this not just to you guys, but to myself. So like if I find myself saying that, whether out loud or inwardly, it's time to DNF the book, or at least put it aside for another time and get to books that I would actually enjoy and not have to get through. Does that make sense? Okay. Oh, book clubs too. If you're reading a book for book club, you may have to get through it. Although a lot of people I know don't actually read the whole book for a book club, so Okay, so another one, and this is more of a, full-on thing. Lucy the Reader started a little thing called the Classics Community, and it's a reading challenge. She's done classics challenges before, but it's just a basic thing where it's a way to get people to read more classics. And I think January it's going to start kicking off with certain goals and certain things, certain numbers to be met or whatever. Now, I don't know how close I'll stick to every bit of every part of the challenge. But I do know that even though this past year I have read more classics than I had in recent years, which is great. I love it, and I'm enjoying the classics that I'm reading. I want to keep going with that. Yeah, exactly. Even though I know I've been doing better, I think I could still do yet better. And I think I want to keep certain goals, like at least a certain amount of classics per month. You know, even if I actually end up just reading, not getting through, reading one per month, and that could still be good, but more than that would be even better. So that's something that I just am already kind of part of anyway. So it's just a matter of keep going. So I like that, and I'm glad that there are wonderful people out there on Booktube that are very much encouraging in these sort of things, that are also more organized in it as well. So another thing I mentioned was, I mentioned this recently. I'd shown you a bunch of Virago books, and what they are, well, Virago Modern Classics, they're a different version more recently, but the ones that I have, and I have about a dozen-ish, or a baker's dozen, or somebody's dozen, and I purchased them over the years, and the ones I have are the older ones that are green. And maybe I'm wrong about this, but I think they're all female writers. I'm pretty sure about that. I'm not gonna, stake my life on it, but I think they're all female writers, and they're all classics of some sort. And so already that would kind of, fit into the classics challenge, but I kind of have it as a separate challenge for my personal self. Not for anybody else, although if you guys want to be a part of that, I'm totally welcoming in that. But my deal is, I started one of them in my last trip to London, and I really didn't get too far in it. It was a small book. I guess I just didn't do a lot of reading the last time I was in London. But so I really didn't finish it. There was a book that had like 2 short stories kind of in them, and I don't know, it wasn't that good. So maybe I just didn't want to continue it. But I want to read the rest of them, and I figure I could fit in, if I did one per month, I could probably read all of them, at least the ones I have and haven't, the ones I haven't bought yet is another story, but I could get through that, and that would be great. And so I would like to, and I hope to, when I do my TBRs, well, I'm sure I'll do a TBR for next month soon, because, why not? It's only less than halfway through the month, but I'll probably include a Virago book, and I keep staring at them. I have them all together in the same place, and I keep looking at them, and I'm like, I need to get to you guys, and I started 1 or 2 of them, and they sounded good, but somehow I didn't keep going, and again, if I can't get through one, though, I have no problem not getting through it. All right. So another challenge that, again, I'll mention this more in my TBR, so I'm not going to do too many. I may link some things down below, but I'm not going to get too strict in that, because this is more about me today. But there's, I think it's Tia and all the books, and a Curly Reader, I think. Don't quote me on any of these right now, because I'm just reading my notes. Has a little Anne of Green Gables thing, read along, and they're reading one book from the Anne of Green Gables, the Anne series, until they run out, which I think is about 8 or 9 or 10 of them, starting in January with Anne of Green Gables. And I showed you guys this before. Anne of Green Gables is part of that. I've read Anne of Green Gables, but if my calculations are correct, and again, I'm dating myself, I think it's been close to 30 years since I finished reading the Anne of Green Gables series, and that's a long time by anybody's reckoning. So it would be nice to start over again, especially since I am also doing those children's classics, which I'm going to talk about later, and just to read them fresh. Even though I pretty much know what happens in it, it still might be nice, and not a very long read either, so it's not like it will take up a lot of my time, but it will be enjoyable, because I love the Anne of Green Gables series. I love Anne and a lot of other characters in that grouping, and I think I have most of the books, so that's good too. Okay, and I wouldn't mind reading the rest of Ella Montgomery, the author, her stuff over again. Most of her stuff I've read, but it might be nice to reread those, but I'm not going to tie myself down to that yet. Another thing that I already am happy about is that I have been recently doing a thing where I've been pairing a fictional book with a nonfiction book. Not every book, but, a lot of like classics. I might be reading a book about Victorian times or something like that. So I get a little fact behind the fiction. And I really like this pairing, although, yes, it gives me a lot more to read in a month, but I think it's a good deal and I want to keep that up. So it's a keep that up goal. I started a little series on this channel called Tea and Mystery, where I would talk about all the mystery books that I read in a month, and I've been a little bit lagging on that recently, so I want to get back into that. I am reading one mystery book now, but I could do better. So, and this not a labor. I just haven't been fitting mystery into my TBRs that much, so I want to keep going with that. And I want to begin another series that I think I've mentioned here before that I want to start, called Tea and History. Now, when I say that, it sounds like I could be talking about tea and the history of tea, and I might, because that is a big deal. I read a lot about tea and the history of tea and its many effects on society in general, and trade, and etc. But I really mean like tea and mystery. I'm talking about mystery books. I want to get back into seriously reading my history books. And some of the nonfiction books I've been reading with the fiction books are kind of historical books too, so I could do that. However, I think I can also, if I do that, if I'm reading historical novels, I can incorporate that because it's history. It's got to be historical or history in any way. And I just miss really seriously talking about history somewhere, so I might just fit that in. It may not even be every month. It may be like a every other month situation, because I'm not gonna, not gonna get too strict with myself. But I really would like to do that feature. I have other things that I'm doing. I do the bookish hypochondriac thing. I just enjoy talking about my issues and how it relates to books and that sort of thing. So I like having my own little things. So I want to keep that up. All right, another goal, and I mentioned this also before. I totally am for borrowing books from the library, guys. I am never going to put that down. I have way too many books that I own to read. So taking books out of the library for me on a regular basis is a bit counterproductive to my trying to read all the books that I already own. However, you guys, if your best access to books is the public library, please don't stop going. Please don't be pressured by other people and halls, even if it's my halls, to be buying books. For years I did most of my reading from library books, and I will never discourage that. However, I personally need to make a goal to read the books that I have and have fewer books out of the library. Because right now, I've had up to like 12 books out in recent months, and that's ridiculous because I have all these books that I own that I have to read. So I want to keep it to where if I'm reading, say, 5, books that I own, I have 1 book that's a library book. That kind of ratio, I don't feel so bad about. But now my cat's trying to lick my knee. He's very weird. And so again, I won't actually stop myself from, especially like I said recently, if I am looking to read desperately a new book and I don't feel like paying like $30 for it, then I won't have a problem checking it out of the library if I really, really, really want to read it right now. So I don't want to stop myself. I just don't want to be having stacks of books from the library taking up space and having to be read right away. So it's just a personal thing that I need to work on. Excuse me. Another thing I need to do is buy fewer books. That being said, I'm going to have another haul coming up soon. Oh my goodness. I buy so many books, even though sometimes I go to Book Off and buy a bunch of $1 books and I think, oh, this isn't so bad. I didn't spend that much money. Even so, it's like I have so many books I have to read. And when I say buy fewer books, it doesn't mean buy no more books. Just really cut down. It does cost money too. And in general, I need to save my money. I am not just planning, but I'm almost definitely going this next year to London. So when I go to London, I want to buy books while I'm there because I've been dying to go to their bookstores again and go nuts. So, and I also need to save up money because it's expensive to travel. So I think if I curtail, and I really hope I do this, if I curtail my spending a little bit and, save it for save it for a rainy London or something, then I'll have more money to spend and I won't feel so bad about hauling a little bit when I'm over there. So we'll see. We'll see. I hope I can do that. So buy fewer books. Just read the books I have. They're all related, these things. Another thing I'd like to do is to finish a lot of my unfinished books. You guys see a lot of the books that I'm currently reading or TBR, and I start so many books, and here we go. Here's some of these books. Like, for instance, I took the cover off this one, but like After the Victorians, it's a good book. It's a long book. I haven't gotten very far in it. I started it in the beginning of November, so you see what I mean? And Story of Tea. Here goes my hernia again. It's a heavy book. These kind of books. There's others. There's others that I've started. Look at this. Oh, I'm causing an earthquake on my own. This book that I started a while back called Reaching Down the Rabbit Hole. It's a really weird medical kind of storybook, so some of it's a little bit gross, but not terribly. And Extraordinary Journeys into the Human Brain. And I enjoyed it when I was reading it, but I didn't get very far. So I gotta finish some books too. I'm still gonna add newer TBRs to my TBRs, but I gotta continue into the books I'm reading as well. I gotta finish things. Not get through. Remember that? Not get through. Finish. All right. So I wrote this. I added this to my list as a little addendum, actually. And I wrote, read as many London books as possible before I go on my next trip. So I don't know how I'll fit that into all my planned books to read in the next few months, but I would like to read books that take place in London or about London or have something to do with London, because I'd like to get myself in the mood for that. One of the ones I'm thinking of doing is I read them out of order, this particular series. Sorry, the Bryant and May Peculiar Crimes Unit, whatever, mysteries, and I love them, and I read them, quite a few of them, but there's a couple that I haven't read yet, and I have to get going. Mainly because a lot of them take place in an area near where we'll probably be staying, and that would make it really conducive to my interest. So I just love that kind of getting myself all propped up. I'm already propped up because you guys know how much I love London, but yeah. So I showed you guys part one of my tea tour, my tea book tour, tea library tour, tea tour. And most of the books I've shown you already have had recipes in them. And I will continue to show you books with recipes in them. And one of these things I need to do, I've told you guys how many issues I've had with my oven lately and how I haven't been doing a good job of it. But maybe I'm out of practice and that's the reason I'm blaming my oven. So I'm thinking about maybe baking some more from these recipes. So that's not a reading goal, but it's a doing goal, and I think that would be a nice way of using those books again that I haven't touched in a while. All right, so history, I mentioned this already, how I want to do the tea and history series, but I also, behind me is most here, and I'm here in these piles are a lot of history books that I own, and a lot of them are very appetizing. I really want to read them, but I just haven't, and I've had some of them for a while. So going with the tea and history deal, I want to start reading more of the history books that I own and like completing them. Let's see. Oh, I wrote about maybe getting into video editing more, because I really don't do a good job of that at all, if at all. I'm not dying to. To me, I'm more about just talking, and uploading. I'm really just very basic about my stuff. But it would be kind of cool to be able to edit things. I would like to be able to do a little vlog when I go to London, but I don't know if I'll be ready for it. But if I can get into learning editing or maybe getting better software or whatever, I would like to do that. So that's a Booktube related goal. Will I do it? So I've had book journals over the years, and I haven't done a good job in recent years of keeping an updated, good book journal. Like I have, again, I keep showing you guys this commonplace book that I carry with me, and that I'll have notes about books I'm reading, but I want a better book journal because yes, I write reviews online and I have a blog and I have this now, but there's something about a book journal that I think is very good for my mind to process the books that I've read. Instead of just reading it, saying it's good, talking about it, and then forgetting about it. It might be good to keep a journal. And I like journaling. I just haven't done a lot of it. And just kind of in relation to that, I used to write a lot of poetry. I'm not saying I'm great at it, but I really enjoyed doing it. I had some of it published, but most of it I just published on a poetry blog that I run myself. And even though, I don't ever think I'm going to get anywhere with it, but I also kind of think that I enjoy it to the point that it's good for me. However, last year I wrote very little. This past year. Very badly done. And I would like to, in terms of journaling, maybe keep not just a reading journal, but maybe get back into scribbling my poems again. And not just poems. I mean, there's other things I want to write more. But that was one of my big ones. So I'd like to really get back to that. And in relation to that, I also want to get back to reading more poetry, because I find that I haven't been doing that very much. Occasionally I'll pick up my poetry books, most of which are behind here. And I obviously have some wonderful ones. And, these ones a day, whatever, I'm like fed poetry. So it's like, I could do it. But I just, for some reason, have been lagging. I think it's mostly because I've been trying to read full books. And then a lot of times poetry books, I don't read like a book cover to cover. I'll just read a poem here and there. And that's fine, but I have to just do it. And, April is, I think, Poetry Month. So that might be a good time to really get into it, but I want to maybe do it sooner so that I'll be ready for Poetry Month. I don't know. I just feel like I'm losing I don't plan to do, although actually it wouldn't be a terrible idea. I don't plan to do a tea and poetry series, but you know what? If I really started getting back into poetry, maybe I could do that. So that's a thing. These are things that I didn't write how many of these I have. It's, I don't know, maybe like 15, whatever. If I don't make all of these things, I'm fine with that. It's more of, these are certain little goalposts along the way in life that, aren't vitally important, but would be nice to improve on a little bit. Or just get better at, or whatever. That's the same thing. I'm a thesaurus. But yeah, so, if you guys, have been thinking about your own goals, I have already seen some of you posting your goals for next year and have enjoyed that. Some of you have given me ideas. So if you have any ideas of what you want to do, or if you agree with some of these goals and would like to do the same, please comment down below. We'll talk, we'll have tea, And, oh yeah, and of course, let's face it, goal number 1 million, but also number 1, is drink more tea all the time. Drink it till it comes out of my ears. But that's not even a goal, that's just a life practice. So this has been Catherine from Taking Tea with Catherine. Have a lovely tea-filled, goal-filled day.